All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official NFL week number 14 top 10 best bets, where I go through my 10 favorite bets. And it just seems to be getting easier and easier here as we get later into the season. I'm expecting 7-3, 8-2, possibly 9-1 this week. Beginning with number 10, it is Houston minus the 6.5, traveling to take on the Jets. At some point, you just got to give it up. Last week, I tried to be too cute. I said, listen, you've got Atlanta. They're a dome team traveling to crappy weather. It was very crappy weather in East Rutherford, New Jersey, but it didn't matter. You know, they ended up covering the 3-point spread because of how terrible the Jets' offense is. Now you've got the situation with Zach Wilson refusing to play. The Jets released one of their quarterbacks. It's a complete and utter mess. I think Houston covers in this one. I understand CJ Stroud, he's still a young quarterback. He's a rookie. He's facing a good defense on the road in a miserable environment. Maybe it'll be sunny, who knows. I will take Houston, though. I just don't think the Jets can score enough, honestly, minus the 6.5. Moving on to number 9, it is Minnesota traveling to Las Vegas. NFC, AFC, rare matchup here, 405, and I love Vegas plus the 3 at home. With their interim head coach, there's a trend. They've covered 2 of the last 3 games with their interim coach. I think they win this game. Maybe not this high scoring. I don't know why I have it so high scoring, but Aiden O'Connell, you do have Josh Jacobs. They're coming off the bye, sitting at 5-7, still within shouting distance of possibly a wild card. There's going to be a lot of motivation in that locker room. And you've got a Minnesota team, the narrative surrounding them, Justin Jefferson back, you've got Jordan Addison, but you did have Josh Dobbs only score 10 points at home against Chicago a few weeks ago on Monday Night Football. They had the bye week. I like Vegas in this game. 26-23, give me them plus the 3. There's some wiggle room there too. I think if Minnesota wins, it's going to be very close. So even if Vegas ends up losing this game, there's a chance you could still get the cover, maybe a push there if they lose on a walk-off field goal. Moving on to number 8, this is one of the Monday night games. So there are 2 different Monday night games. The other Monday night game, it's not a top 10 best bet, but I do like the under in the Packers-Giants one. This one, though, I understand 13.5 is a lot, but you can just tell that that Miami is going to want to put on a show at home facing a rookie QB. You know, Tennessee, they're not built for this. They're not built for a shootout. This is going to get ugly pretty quickly. Tyreek Hill will have a touchdown, 160 yards. Tua will have a really good game, and I see the Dolphins winning this one easily. I also like the over-under, I'm guessing, is in the mid-40s. Miami games tend to always go over. They just crushed the Commanders, and it's a situation where they've just got such a powerful offense. You're taking on a rookie quarterback and a Tennessee team that really struggled defensively against Gardner Minshew last week. Yeah, it seems like good value, even though it is minus 13.5 there. We've seen several games this year where Miami's been double-digit home favorites, and they've covered pretty easily, so I'm taking them 85% chance to win. That is very high for an NFL game. Moving on to number 7, it is a divisional matchup. Denver traveling to take on the LA Chargers. LA, I do like them minus the 2.5, so I'm finding great value these past few weeks in fading Denver. I thought they were going to get crushed last week against Houston, and honestly, they probably should have. They were on the verge of it. I think it was 20-3 at one point. Yes, the game ended up being a little bit closer, but you still had Houston cover that 4-point spread. And now I think the Chargers, sitting at 5-7, they still have a chance. They're coming off that shockingly low 6-0 win over the Patriots. They're back home, warmer environment. I'm not going to say a great crowd advantage. We know SoFi Stadium, there's probably going to be about 50% Denver fans there, but either way, I'm fading Denver. Their 6-6 record to me is a little fluky. Russell Wilson, his stats look good, but he's been more of a game manager this year, and I do find value in the Chargers, not even a field goal favorite at home. They've just got a better overall team, especially better overall offense, and they are at home. Moving on to number 6, it is Carolina traveling to New Orleans. And yes, so Carolina, very great value, sitting at 1-11. Last week we were in on them. I had them winning that game outright against Tampa Bay. They almost did, but at least they covered the 5.5-point spread, and this one very similar. They're on the road again. It's a 6.5-point spread. Carolina is not tanking. They do not own their first round pick. They are trying to get Bryce Young more experience. They're trying to get him better, and you're facing a New Orleans Saints team that's just extremely streaky. I mean, last week they go down like 21-3. They come back against Detroit. They end up losing. They are just a streaky football team, and I'm going to bet against them. I think they win this game outright, barely, possibly on a walk-off field goal. Seems like Derek Carr gets hurt every single game. He's going out with an injury. Carolina, Bryce Young, they continue to develop. Bryce Young is getting better. There's not a lot of people talking about it because nobody's paying attention to Carolina right now, but he is making elite level throws. He is improving. They will keep that game close. Also, it's a good environment in a dome for Bryce Young to really have a breakout rookie game. Moving on to number 5, it is Jacksonville traveling to Cleveland. A very miserable matchup here for Jacksonville, I would expect. I mean, the last time I did this, Trevor Lawrence ended up playing. If you guys remember, I don't know if it was week 3 or week 4, or so, like early in the season, Trevor Lawrence had an injury, and I was like, they're already 2-1 or 3-1. They're playing in an easy division. They're not going to rush Trevor Lawrence back. Well, he played. But this week, I mean, he gets injured on Monday Night Football. They don't even get a cart for him. He ends up walking and limping into the locker room. Very strange visual. You do have the Browns now sitting -3. This line flipped. It was Jacksonville -3. Now it is Cleveland. So Trevor Lawrence, really like a 6-point swing. That's why quarterbacks are so valuable. And I still do think the Browns win this game and cover. It is a horrible situation. Jacksonville on a short week. Their backup quarterback going into a cold environment against one of the NFL's best defenses. And don't overreact to the Browns' last 2 losses against Denver and the Rams. If you look at the scores, you'll be like, oh my God, they got crushed. They were very close games. Both the teams scored touchdowns late to make it look worse than it was. The Browns were within 1 point of the Rams late in the third quarter. Joe Flacco looked good enough. The Browns will ride their defense against a backup QB at home against Jacksonville and win this game and cover the 3-point spread. It's going to be very low scoring as well. Moving on to number 4, it is a heavyweight matchup. It's Buffalo traveling to Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes, who's coming off that loss. And guys, we do have great value in Buffalo once again, sitting plus the 2.5. I have them winning this game outright relatively easily. I am not buying Kansas City this year. And this exact same thing happened a few weeks ago. And even if you want to say, oh, Buffalo blew that game when I predicted Buffalo to beat Philadelphia. Yeah, but they still covered the 3.5-point spread because they only lost by 3. So even with Buffalo blowing that game late and everything going against them, they still cover it. And here's another situation. Buffalo underdogs in terms of the line, but they're actually favorites in terms of the analytics. They've gotten very unlucky. They're 6-6, but they've got a crazy good point differential. They win this game outright against the Chiefs team. I understand the thought process behind the Chiefs coming back home, motivated after the loss in Lambeau at 8-4. I just don't see a win. Buffalo needs this game more. They're rested. They're ready to go. And they get a win on Sunday afternoon. Late night, well, I wouldn't say late night game, 4:25 game, but it will be played in the dark. Moving on to number 3, it is the Rams taking on the Baltimore Ravens. So just another horrible spot here, this time for the Rams, traveling West Coast to East Coast, cold weather environment, Baltimore coming off a bye. This could be a lot worse than this. This could be something like 34-13, honestly. I'm honestly leaning more towards that. Right now, I've got it at 27-17. But yeah, I understand the Rams had a good game against the Browns. I had them minus the 4. I applaud them, but you got to fade them now going on the road. Again, it's just a terrible matchup here where you've got Baltimore coming off a bye at home, 1 o'clock game, not going to end well very likely for the LA Rams there. Moving on to number 2. This is the Thursday night game, and people are going to look at this over-under and just be like, no way, bro. It's too low. These are NFL teams. They're going to be able to score 31 points total. This reminds me a lot of Iowa football. If you guys watch college football, Iowa routinely has over-unders, believe it or not, in the 20s. I mean, they had this year over-unders at like 25, and the games would always go under because the teams just cannot produce offense, and you've got backup QBs. The Patriots, they're kind of tanking. They're still trying to play hard. They play hard on defense. They just lost 6-0, so their last game involved 6 total points. The Steelers just lost to Arizona. They're without Kenny Pickett. and it's just a mucky game. I mean, I would take the Patriots to cover the 6-point spread. I was originally going to put that in the bet, but I just don't trust them enough, so I would rather just go in on the under 30.5. I understand people are going to be scared off by it because it is a low number, but more times than not, even with a number like this, it will still go under because the teams can just not produce points. Even if they have like a 9 or 10 play drive, more than likely it'll end in a field goal as long as there is no huge plays. You also have to factor in the idea that this game very likely going to be played in cold weather in Pittsburgh this time of year, probably into the 30s. We're supposed to get a cold front as well, so maybe I'll take a look at the weather games, but either way, I do like the under in terms of that. And then moving on to number one, the money I've been making off of Justin Fields the past few weeks and his resurgence, it's unbelievable. Chicago plus the 3. I've got them winning this game outright, of course. How about 3 weeks ago when Chicago, would they go on the road to Detroit? They almost won that game. They were plus 6 or something. I had them, easily covering that spread, and they're a lot better than their record. Fields was injured. This is really like a 6-6 type team with DJ Moore. I mean, how good has DJ Moore and Fields been? That's one of the best duos in the NFL. And then this Detroit Lions team, they've got a faulty defense. You go up big against New Orleans, and then you let them right back into the game, not trusting that New Orleans defense. How about the first half that Jordan Love had on Thanksgiving Day against that defense? Yeah, I think Justin Fields is going to have a field day here. They're going to win this game outright. I will take them plus 3 in that matchup. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.